Who's there?
America.
America who?
I don't know. I didn't have it set up. I just stole Dion's.
MCU Special!
Nailed it.
So as you can guess, this is the MCU Special.
That was the worst thing we've ever done.
I'm glad I was a part of it.
That is staying. That was beautiful. That was nice.
Alright, go for it.
Incredibly stupid, but nice. I'm Jason Musicon.
Stupid but nice. You just described our mascot.
Incredibly stupid.
You just described our mascot.
He's majestic.
Aww. I'm Jason Musicanth. With me, as always, are Dion Van Heerden
Hi.
and Marcus Knafe.
Fly me to the moon.
Joining us again is Thomas Marshall Sharp.
I am also here, and my middle name is a secret.
Sorry, Thomas Whoop Sharp.
Thank you.
Is it very?
Well, I mean, it must be more secret than mine. He doesn't even mention mine.
He loves me more.
His is on his Facebook profile.
Yeah, and yours is evangelist.
Funny. It's
With
close,
like
though.
with that like emphasis and everything. It's
It's-
fucking weird.
It's got a question mark.
Upwards inflection.
It's close to that.
Yeah,
So,
no, but if I give out his middle name, people can find his IMDb page.
Ayo. Mbada.
Yeah, so this is the MCU Special, where we're essentially just going to talk about MCU a whole bunch, like why it's so good,
Cause it's good.
why people like it,
Cause it's nice.
and what we think is going to happen in the future.
Probably
There's
more
gonna be more
good
movies.
movies.
The end. That was
I
great.
think we done
Anything
it.
to
That
plug?
was a short recording.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive, guys.
I mean, the only thing I would mention is eventually they're going to make one of these that's going to break 2 billion.
I
Like,
I
it's
was
coming.
expecting that eventually they're going to make one of these that's going to be bad.
Well,
But
like,
that seems more
I think
likely.
they'll
Yeah.
break 2 billion first. Honestly, I think something like Infinity War.
That's what it's all been leading up to.
It
Yeah,
really
I think
has.
something like Infinity War is the one that really has
the capacity to
the
just
capa- the only
smash it.
the only thing that I think, like, aside from just obviously that's a monumental task, that might be standing in its way is just how saturated things are at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are at peak levels.
Yeah, like we are. So I don't know if it's got that much extra headroom, you know,
Yeah.
for to sort of. I mean, what's the top grossing one so far?
First Avengers.
Avengers. And how
No,
much
no,
was
no.
that?
Didn't Ultron outgross it
No.
by
No,
like a
no,
eight?
wasn't it Iron Man 3 that?
Oh, it depends if you're speaking international or US
Yeah,
box
yeah.
office.
No,
You know perfectly what I'm
assume-
talking about. The world.
Yeah.
Everything.
Okay, so the US box office.
I'll actually just bring up Box Office Mojo.
Make sure you select international there, otherwise you're going to see
No.
Avengers, Ultron, and Iron Man 3 in that order.
Okay. Hey, so while he's
pretty
putting that up,
sexy.
here's a fun game to try out. Describe the MCU. I'm going to give you an MCU movie starting with the first one, and give me a one-word description without using the word good.
Okay.
So, Iron Man.
Great.
Very good.
Interesting.
That's advanced levels of Dion there.
Okay.
Okay, no, groundbreaking.
Yeah. Incredible Hulk.
Adequate.
Underwhelming. I think adequate's better.
I
think
would say
adequate.
forgettable, because it's the one people forgot came out.
I don't think they forgot. I think they all assume, like I did, that it came out before Iron Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fairness, I did rewatch it about a year ago. No, even more recently than that, and actually is not
It's adequate.
bad.
No, I'm planning a full marathon before Infinity War comes
Yeah.
out. Like,
And
You're a
and
madman.
it's sort
no,
of
I'm taking time for that.
it's not perfect, but it's definitely not a bad film.
No.
And the
By any
Hulk
stretch.
Abomination fight still holds up.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
far worse things in the rest of the MCU than some of the stuff in there. Like this, like in Thor 1, there's a lot of
Thor
actively
2.
bad stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like the world does mirror the top 3 in the US. It's Avengers, then Age of Ultron, then Iron Man 3.
Okay.
And how much is Avengers?
1.519 million.
Yeah, you see, that's the
But
thing is like
1.5
Avengers.
or 1.1,
Avengers is
yeah,
a bit like
1.519 billion.
like Force Awakens in that
Yes.
it's the sort of it's this huge event film that everyone's getting worked up. The thing is, Infinity War was that, but it's also sort of in some ways just another one. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
bigger, but it's
there's
another
so many. We don't
Well,
have 20 Star Wars.
Yeah, but you see, the biggest part of it is the
But that's what I'm saying is Force Awakens came out alone.
Yes.
yeah.
Like it came out.
It wasn't heralded.
Uncontested.
Yeah, and Avengers was the first of these huge team.
Yeah, it was the first
It was like
culmination
the
of the team.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. I would love for Infinity War to break 2 billion.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't imagine it actually happening.
For it to be able to break 2 billion, we need.
Yeah, this is a
We as the Disney
employees.
CEOs.
We've taken enough money from them. This is
They-
this fancy custom mug.
Cost me nearly 50 smackaroos.
That's billion smackaroos.
And your soul. Yeah?
Yeah, that's how they got it. That's how they got the likeness so good.
I see.
I think
You don't age, but it does.
Portrait of Dorian Gray.
that I always have to drink it this way because if I look at it by mistake.
You'll just explode.
Yeah, I think the US alone needs to make close to 1 billion for it
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
Because with that 1.5 worldwide for Avengers, I think the US was close to 700 million.
Yeah, remember at this point it's competing against. In fairness, it's coming out before Deadpool 2 and Solo, but it's effectively competing against them by its sort of third week.
Well, what I'm thinking
Yeah.
is this is
Like
the
it's a
one-
very like it's been Black Panther, then it's Infinity War, then it's just a lot of competition.
Really slammed
yeah.
for a lot of really good
And I
ones.
mean, like, what did Force Awakens have to compete against? You know, what did Avengers have to compete against? You know, as nothing in its space.
At the time, nothing. But what I think counts in this one's favor is like the first Avengers, but unlike Age of Ultron, it's opening the first weekend of May in the States, the same date that Avengers did, which does give it some breathing room before the next comic book
I was
movie.
actually gonna say, yeah, it's got about 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Wait,
'cause
when is Deadpool 2 coming out?
the 18th, around there, something like that. So it's got a good 2 weeks before the next superhero movie comes to challenge it.
That's actually a very good point. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would love for it to break 2 billion. I mean, at this point, it's just like it's like being, I guess,
Yeah,
like
18th
being a
for
fan
Deadpool.
of like whichever sports team happens to be dominating,
Yeah.
and you're like. You just watch them go up against lesser teams the whole time, knowing they're going to win, but you're still enjoying it. Now, you're just about like, it's not a question of whether they're going to win, it's a question of by how far.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
margin going to be?
It's like watching any sports team fight against a South African sports team because they've been losing all the time, apparently.
Well, yeah, it's even cricket
This
now.
year.
You know, things are dire when we're even losing cricket all
losing
the time.
cricket to India on home field advantage.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
some bad sports.
That's some
That dude, they
that's some terrible
sports
sports.
so badly.
We
I'm
need to
glad I took off my shirt that
we
said
need to
go
sport
local
harder."
sports team and or college.
Yeah. It would have been an egg in your face in alignment. All right, so yeah.
Yeah,
What?
so-
All right, let's
so I
let's
think-
go around the table. Let's go around the table
Yeah.
and talk about our feelings. Now, I'm actually just curious what everyone's sort of top 3 is. I know we discussed it a little bit, but
Well, I think before we get into that and we talk about like our own personal top 3 and stuff like that, we just need to, I think, essentially consider why it's so popular out there. Because it is an unparalleled powerhouse in cinema at the moment.
yeah.
There's no other. I mean, they're 18 for 18 in like overwhelmingly positive reviews. I mean, I think their lowest is mid 60s, and that was Hulk.
yeah,
Yes.
which
And that
sort
was
of,
that was before the machine was up and running.
Yeah.
yeah. I
that
mean, because
was-
you'd had Iron Man before it, and then
Yeah, and
everything
they had released. Well, I think the theory when the plane is finished flying over, right? What I was going to say was Iron Man and Incredible Hulk both had very different tones and ways of telling their story.
Yes.
They're working on the two of them together and released them pretty close together as well to see, okay, which direction is going to work better for us? The more Hulk direction or the more Iron Man direction? Not in terms of character focus, but in terms of story setup and storytelling. They did market research with their first 2 movies
Which is
and
massively
then built
risky.
from there. super risky. They were independent at that point. Like, they only got Disney money post Avengers, because Disney bought them before the first Avengers came out.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're already heavily into production on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they maybe
really put
got
up all
some.
their chips.
They maybe got a discount at ILM for the visual effects after the deal.
Yeah, well, I not even about discount. It's just a question of
no,
like,
this was
market-
before they bought Star Wars, Lucasfilm.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
would just be a question of like that massive Disney marketing push and keeping distribution in house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah, I think that's
honestly,
a good point. I think like with that they found that it's the characters that people care more about.
Yeah.
Than
not-
the
not just-
very impressive visual set
Yeah, not
pieces.
just that, but I think a lot of it has just got to do with Kevin Feige.
Yeah, he just gets it.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think he, if nothing else, like he is the sort of the one unifying factor. He's someone that's always fought for more and more like freedom from outside interference. I mean, it was him versus Perlmutter for a long time.
And before that, him versus the heads at Fox, because remember, he was involved with the X-Men trilogy.
Is it?
He was.
Yeah.
Oh,
He cut his
really?
teeth in the X-Men days.
Yeah.
Like, he goes way back.
And I think
That's impressive.
I think he's maintained just an incredible amount of integrity. And that's one of the things, I think that's one of the reasons it's such a trusted brand, is that there's a lot of cheap stuff that their competition traps that they keep falling into. I mean, Batman v Superman, right? Oh, let's just take a couple of like our biggest selling arcs and just cram them together.
Smack them together
Let's
like
see how much
child's
we can.
toys.
Yeah, not learning from, hey, this guy. I mean, something like Man of Steel. I mean, I enjoy that movie more than most people, but still,
I too enjoy it.
but still, I mean, a film like that would have been a very middle of the road to low end Marvel film, and he probably wouldn't have had the chance to make another one.
Yeah.
Just the way they vet their directors. I mean, if you look at how they vetted their directors for Doctor Strange, you know, it was a pool of directors, and then each of them had to give an incredibly detailed, upfront explanation of how they would do it. I mean, just that whole scene, where the spirits are out of their bodies and they're fighting in the surgery room.
Oh my-
I mean,
yes.
the director, he actually with his own money went and made a version of that scene to show Marvel, and Marvel actually bought it from him.
Yeah.
To use in the actual film. So that, I mean, just that level of dedication to making sure they've got the right directors.
Yeah.
They're bringing guys over from television. They're bringing in young guys. Aside
bringing
from
in fresh
I mean, they
perspectives, they're bringing in
had
different-
Edgar Wright, which was
They had Edgar Wright
ballsy, and that didn't
Patty
work
Jenkins.
out. Yeah, because he was more of a, more of a auteur vision.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people they treat them with a lot of respect.
Yeah.
But they vet them heavily ahead of time.
I mean, look at their biggest mouthpiece for, the indie filmmaker going corporate in, air quotes, James Gunn.
Yeah.
He lauds them for the amount of creative
oversight.
freedom he gets, but with guided oversight to make sure that it still works.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he inherently, when doing the first one, was out of his depth.
Yeah.
As a director, never helmed a project with such scale and such stakes.
yeah.
So, they're obviously bringing in new people, but they're being careful about it.
Yeah, and they're giving them the sort of the tools and the support they need
Rather
to
than
make,
just saying, no, this is wrong, you're fired.
yeah, I don't know, it just feels, I think integrity is the word I
It
keep
feels,
coming
it's
back
sort
to.
of,
It feels wholesome.
Yeah.
it feels like a new talent incubator somehow.
I mean, if you look at just the Russo brothers, who would have thought that these guys who
Yeah, they
directed
came from,
episode
straight to TV.
from Community and Arrested Development, let's get them to
I mean,
do
not even
our...
the best episodes of Arrested Development.
Let's get them to do our gritty freaking spy thriller.
Yeah.
Let's do
I
that.
mean, they,
Yeah, and
they
you're
must
like,
have put together
what?
a hell of a pitch.
Yeah, and it was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's obviously still just such a landmark film. It's so perfect. It just feels like where other studios go for the quick cash grabs, they go for the gimmicky, let's include this iconic villain for no particular reason. Obviously,
Yeah.
there've been
Disney-
missteps.
Yeah.
There, but for the whole, and I don't want to say Disney because
It's Marvel Studios.
it's Marvel Studios, and I think that's the big thing. There's a specific identity under Kevin Feige. There's specific rules in play. Like he says, don't ever save your best ideas or any cool ideas you have for your next film, because then you won't get to make one.
And that's a great ethos to have.
Yeah.
As a creative, building a universe, that's a great...
Because
But
it means
at the
every
same
film
time,
is
he's
its
also
own...
playing the long game.
Yeah, every film is the best possible film it can be. It can service other ones, but never at the expense of itself.
Yeah.
And they've actually been, I think Movie Bob said it really well, where they created this universe where it feels like you need to watch all of them. You don't.
You don't. You really.
But
Each
like,
one adds
man,
a little
I
bit of
could,
world building,
you know?
but you get this feeling of being part of a cultural moment, being in on something.
Yeah, it
cultural
rewards
moment that's been
long-time
going
watchers.
for a decade.
It rewards long-time watchers like comic books reward long-time readers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, you know what? It just occurred to me. Is it that exact thing of there's a certain passion amongst long-time comic book readers, right? Where they, it's the knowing the nuances of the world, knowing the in-jokes. It's great. It's a sense of identity and all of that. And I think what they've done is they've taken that feeling and made it accessible to everyone.
They've made it mass market.
They've made that sort of thing, which I suppose is why some of the older hardcore fans, don't like the MCU, for instance, because
it's something that they were made fun of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when
And
they were
it's-
younger, they were made fun of for enjoying this kind
you
of thing.
nerd.
And
you
now
like
it's
now
comics.
the society's liking this kind of thing, and they feel like, no, you hated me for that thing. That's my
Yeah,
thing.
it's a
How dare
sense
you
of-
try and take my thing?
It's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
sense of
you're
elitist
just-
gatekeeping that like really pisses me
Yeah,
off.
because
see, I
obviously
think-
at the end of the day, you want to criticize society for not liking the thing that you like, and then as soon as everyone does, it's like, no, these are my toys, you can't
Yeah.
play with them.
You like them now, well,
to
I
be
like
fair,
them.
to be fair, the elitist gatekeeping thing, that's always been more a DC Comics
Nah.
thing. Like people,
I don't think
no,
so.
no, people have.
I'm
People,
I'm calling
like,
bullshit.
I'm calling
No, no, no,
bullshit.
no.
Comic
I'm
book
telling
fans
you.
are jackass.
DC fans are worse than
No, I
Marvel
No,
think-
this sounds like
fans.
Xbox
No,
versus PlayStation
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah,
Nah.
There's no differentiation.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
there
dude.
is.
No,
There is.
no, there absolutely isn't.
I will pull up the numbers.
Okay.
Putting
What
up the
numbers?
Pull up some numbers.
The numbers
There.
of douchebags.
No, okay,
Use my phone 'cause
here-
it's got the Wi-Fi.
Here I think
No, I've
is
got
where
data.
the distinction is.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
but don't waste your data.
Incredible Hulk. Dude, I get like 7 gigs a month and I barely use
Then
300
fucking
megs
go
of it.
for it.
I think the distinction.
Incredible Hulk came out in 2008. You know what also came out in 2008? The Dark Knight. Which one was a better film? No, that doesn't work.
I think the
Keep the clap.
I have no idea what just happened.
I think the distinction is DC fans seem more vocal about their gatekeeping because their movies are inherently doing worse.
Yeah.
That is why we think that they are more, venomous about it.
Yeah, the thing is, they've got. Remember that's the other thing is Marvel is this weird. It's like an underdog story
Yeah.
because they've mostly got B and C list characters to
They
work
went
with.
bankrupt in the 90s.
Yeah,
they-
very
they-
close.
after the
yeah.
comic
No, they did.
bubble.
They
Oh,
filed
actual
for bankruptcy.
Yeah,
actual
they
bankruptcy.
legit
Yeah, where
filed
Sony
for-
almost bought all their the film
Ooh.
rights. So close. It's so very far.
Well, they filed for it was Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the States.
In '98, I think it was.
Yeah.
After
in
the,
98.
After the comic book bubble.
So that's the thing is it's an underdog story, and it still feels like it, even though now they're like a multi-billion-dollar corporate
Conglomerate.
entity under Disney, and all of that. There's
couldn't be
still,
more major
It still feels like an underdog, and they're taking characters that people don't know, or niche characters, or weird characters, and then they're taking them and respecting them enough to make really good films with them.
but also putting enough of their own marketable spin on it to
Yeah.
know that it's going to do well.
Oh yeah, no, the MCU is a wholly different entity from mainline Marvel Comics at the moment.
Yeah,
Which is
cool.
why I was so pleased when they changed their logo.
Yes.
Because it was
At
the,
the beginning of
final
the film.
shut up for
Yeah.
any sort of gatekeeping. It's
Yeah.
like, well, it's not like the comics. Well, they got a new logo, so
Yeah.
shut up.
Well, that's because it's not the comics.
So
Also, there's been more bleed from the movies into the comics.
Absolutely.
Then vice versa, yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, how Tessa Thompson's version of Valkyrie is now canon Valkyrie in Earth 616 in the mainline Marvel Comics universe.
Yeah.
Of course, people are pissed because it's not some blonde girl anymore,
Oh no.
who no one could remember her real name.
The thing is, what they're also being very careful about, I think, is that what started happening in comics is they started relying on the fact that people had read all the comics.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Avengers comics that I've gone and read where I sit the whole time not enjoying it. I'm sitting on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You know, like
you have
trying
to
to figure
start
out,
at
like,
a jumping
wait,
point
who the,
at
who the fuck
at
is
a
this? Who the
universe
fuck?
reboot.
And the story doesn't work on its own without knowing all of that, and that's fine. Like if you've got that built-in fan base, that's all well and good. But
Yeah, we're not-
you're gonna remain insular, and I think the films learned from that. Where like any single MCU film is accessible to anyone.
Yeah.
You enjoy it more, you get more from it if you have watched the others.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
like,
there's never a
actually-
point where you're going to be completely lost.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
Andre was actually saying that to us after we saw Black Panther.
Mhm.
He said, like, I haven't seen half of these movies, but I've enjoyed every one that I've seen.
Yeah. Which is weird. Like, to me, I keep feeling like, what? You missed some. Oh, no.
Yeah, like, oh.
And then, but then if you really sit and think about it, like, if you
like-
haven't watched Doctor Strange and then you see Doctor Strange in Thor Ragnarok, you're going to put together instantly from context what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not this mysterious. Who is this person?
Yeah, you're just going to be immediately like, okay, cool.
He's a magic man.
Like, they set it up so well. They
Yeah.
always make it, and I think
he
that's...
floats down, and you're like, oh shit, who's this magical motherfucker? And he's like, Earth's got wizards now?
Yeah.
Like, if you
Yeah.
missed Doctor Strange,
There you go. You just caught up.
like, you just caught up without
Yeah.
having seen a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing is then a lot of people go like, that guy's pretty cool. He's got his own movie. Oh shit,
Oh,
I've got to
shit.
see
Yeah,
that.
I've got to
that out.
get that
It's-
on Blu-ray.
Damn, I'm
Exactly.
jealous of that person.
I'm not. I got to see it in the cinema. They got to watch it on some shitty screen like a peasant.
Peasants.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That like you guys keep saying, they make you want to watch all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is very
The,
smart.
the world
Yeah.
building, the tying in stuff, it's mostly through the stingers, it's mostly through little references. It's never integral.
No.
It's it's that feeling of inclusion, but it's sort of simplified and made accessible to everybody.
The world building is not inherently exposition dumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
but
the greatest
that's
thing.
why it's in the stingers.
Yeah.
Like Dion mentioned, it's not integral to each individual movie. It's just
No.
hey,
And
here's
that's
a
the
little
thing.
here's a little kiss for you at the end of the movie. So, there you go.
Look at something like Spider-Man: Homecoming, especially. I think that's sort of peak like Marvel self-indulgence, Easter egging. I love it. You know, and I think we probably got more out of it
Then somebody who saw only
than
that
someone
one.
who hasn't. But I think anyone who just wants to go see a Spider-Man film is still going to be happy.
Yeah, and they were
Like,
like,
it's still a
and they were like,
fun-
why is Iron Man in this? I didn't expect that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
because there's nobody that's not gonna recognize Iron Man now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That's the other thing is they. Sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
it's-
they know that you know
Yeah,
who everyone
Yeah.
is. They've got to the point now where you know who
the
everybody
movie
is.
characters are ubiquitous enough in the popular culture
Yeah.
that even if you haven't seen their films, you can recognize them.
yes,
You don't have to have seen Guardians of the Galaxy to know the tree one is Groot.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's been memes of it.
Yeah, it's everywhere. But they don't. They can take it for granted that we know the characters, but they never.
They never put
rest
it
on their laurels.
Over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
They never overestimate the audience, the general audience's knowledge of the world they've
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
They don't accept that anyone has seen all the movies, even though 90% of the people opening weekend in that cinema have. Like, they make movies in a way where they expect or they understand that people probably haven't watched all of the movies and build from there, which is the right way to do it.
That's exactly what Jason was saying. Their key strategy is long game.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
making these movies so that in 20 years, you can watch one of them and be like, oh, that was cool.
Not
What?
just
That another 21
Oh
more
my
of
God.
these movies?
yeah,
And there you go. You're never going to watch a arguably, you're never really going to watch a standalone and be like, nah, I don't want to
Yeah,
watch any
I
more of
think-
these.
if I was coming into this totally fresh, I knew none of the characters. I think even in their most dense one yet, which is Civil War,
Yes.
I would still have enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they give you enough, like, even if you haven't seen the movies running up to it.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough, like, conflict and development within the confines of the movie itself for it to work.
And the characters, it's all about the character. And
Yeah,
one
that
of the
is the
things,
thing. It's all about the character.
One of the things people criticize the MCU for, and I think honestly, like, if there's going to be an evil, I think this is a good one. Starting off like the sort of, this is the lesser of all the potential evils, which is the weaker villains.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think their focus on their heroes and their ensemble cast and building that out at the expense possibly of really strong, you know, Doc Ock kind of villains.
That's because more often than not they're using these
They're using
quite flat
C-tier
villains. They're using these villains to catalyze character growth.
Yeah.
So it's not about the villain. The villain doesn't really matter at all.
Yeah, it's like
It's more about the growth
Snoke or
of
the
your
Emperor.
protagonist.
Yeah.
We haven't got a lot of, in the movies anyway, we haven't had a lot of iconic villains that have been underutilized, I feel. I
Yeah.
think that's an distinctive,
No,
like we
yeah,
haven't,
that's a very
we
good
haven't
point.
had, and I'm not talking about Fantastic because that movie doesn't exist.
Which one are you talking about?
Exactly, thank you. We haven't had a scenario where they've brought in Doctor Doom and he's done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that would be a goddamn
I mean,
travesty.
that's a good thing. Like, yeah, their movie villains have been not great, but they haven't actually been disappointing from, you know, comic fans.
Yeah, it's not an
I
offensive
think the only one that everyone got
waste.
really angry about, which obviously didn't matter to me, was Mandarin. But it's not a character I was invested in, and it's also
Look,
for me,
OG
in the-
Mandarin is such a racist caricature.
Yeah,
that's
you
the
see,
thing.
that's
is
the
in the
problem.
in the context of the film and the film's place in the world,
It
like
makes so
with,
much
with
sense.
terrorist leaders, and like it's extremely zeitgeisty, and to subvert that whole sort of terrorist like
Yeah,
Al
and
Qaeda
then
style
flip the
leader.
script
Shane
on
Black
you.
101.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean I thought that was obviously third act we're pretending didn't
Yeah.
happen. But that whole like Mandarin thing, like I thought that was great. I loved that.
I didn't expect it to happen, and I was
did
surprised.
not expect that.
And I
twist
think on
either.
my first viewing, I was a little bit like, well, that's disappointing. But exactly as Marcus says, when I went back and I thought about it, I was like, wow, the Mandarin was super racist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
can't
don't
put that
want
in a
the
movie.
Mandarin.
Yeah, you don't want the
and
Mandarin.
if you do want the
don't
Mandarin, you want a smart, modern take on it. And maybe flip the script a little bit. And actually, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know? That's actually fine.
When you've got someone like I was also one of those people after the first viewing of Iron Man 3, I was fine with that interpretation of the Mandarin being like Middle Eastern warlord, yay terrorism, you know, because that's
Yeah.
the zeitgeist now. I did not expect that twist where it's just an actor, and I walked out, I was like, well, that was an odd choice. You know, why would you do that? Then on repeat viewings, because obviously I'm going to watch these things more than once,
And they
It's like-
know you are.
and they know I
I
am.
know you are.
It's like, well, that of course Shane Black did that. It makes sense within
I
the plot.
was
of
one
the
of those
film.
people that just from like as soon as that turn happened, I was like, this is perfect. This is just absolutely perfect.
And that perfectly illustrates
which is
the
why,
two perspectives.
and then obviously like there was Killian, which was like the like
extremist
the-
thing
Yeah.
was a
like
little bit
which is a real like
Which is sad for
that's
Guy
one
Pearce, 'cause
that's
he's
a
okay.
rare instance I think where their sort of their desire to have a particular image, in this case the Iron Legion,
Yeah.
got in the way of good storytelling, because there's a fundamental flaw where they sort of present the people that are undergoing the whole extremist thing as like war vets and people, you know, that
Having
like
advantage
sympathetic, sympathetic people, and then he's just fucking murdering them.
Yeah, and you're like, this is a bit...
Like they're supposed to be the bad guys.
yeah, they're
You'd
victims
think
of their
after-
circumstance.
After Avengers, he would kind of sympathize with
Yeah.
them a little bit more.
So it like that bugged me, but I mean the rest of the film.
I mean,
think.
the thing is, like, that's the one thing that I think they mishandled was extremists.
Yeah, and
Like,
that, I gotta say that's
because-
one of my
because the
all-time
extremist-
favorite comics.
The extremist
I love
books
that.
are so good and so nuanced about like these people that take extremists that are just so like they are the disenfranchised,
fundamentally broken.
and the fundamentally broken who want to change the world in their image, much like a certain group that are in the States right now that wear Pepe pins and shit like that. What? You know?
No, like,
Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
But Extremis was great. It's one of the rare instances, like, I know people get worked up when they change things from the comic books, but generally for the cinematic universe, things being changed from the comic books has been for the best.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been better for the brand.
Yeah, it's been better for the brand. It works better on film. I mean, like, if you look at Thor, okay, in fairness, Thor in the first two films is an outstanding, but he's still better than comic book Thor.
Like, yeah, he was not really...
fair enough.
He was not, in the comics, a three-dimensional character.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, that whole
And-
thing of him, like, you know, being a human, like, living as a bum for a long time, it's like...
It's
a
not compelling.
downer.
It's not compelling.
Yeah, it's just...
I mean, it became compelling in the Ultimates universe because that was interesting because it was still using the human form, Donald Blake, but he was like a Greenpeace activist, like straight up murdering whalers in his human form.
Yeah, but it's...
Like,
yeah.
we're having a peaceful protest.
The thing that they're also very good at is, I mean, this should go without saying, is that each character is iconic and super recognizable, and that's why Thor being Thor,
Yeah,
like
just Thor.
Thor is Thor. That's it.
We know who Thor
Yeah,
is.
like that's like the branding. That's
Yeah.
the thing, and I mean that's just good mythology. That's mythology 101. It's like Star Wars. They're building their own mythology. You know,
Yeah.
they sort of.
Well, they're not built. They pretty much built it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they
it's
throughout
going
the
further,
films, like
but
they're
it's-
continuing. I mean, if you look at a character like Iron Man, you know, Tony Stark. Tony Stark in Iron Man 1 is very different to Tony Stark now.
Yeah.
It's very different, and he's had like all this character building, and he's like there's like little parables, you know, littered throughout the story and the story of growth, and but still imperfect.
Yeah,
And,
like
and I
from-
think and that's what I mean by the mythology. Like they're building it as they go on, but like Iron Man is still Iron Man
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the post.
Iron Man is Iron Man, but Tony Stark, the rebel without a cause in Iron Man 1, is very different from Tony Stark. You know, maybe
Father
the
figure.
government should
Yeah.
step in a bit in
Yeah.
Civil War.
Voice of
To the
reason.
father figure in Homecoming.
Well,
Exactly.
Yeah.
well, voice of personal guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's.
Yeah, but it's because it's the long game that they're playing. He planned out all the way to the end of Phase 4 from the get go.
Yeah.
Not
mean,
quite
by-
from the get go.
Yeah, Iron Man.
I think
2,
around the end of Phase 1 was when they were really like.
Iron Man 2 already. They had Wakanda in the background.
Fair enough, but they also mentioned Stephen Strange in an earlier film in a way that doesn't at all fit in with
Yeah,
when he's actually introduced.
That was
like
in-
no, like Easter egg. Like I would be careful with.
Well, it's not just the
mistaking,
mention
like,
of it,
Easter
but it's
eggs
also
for
the
planning.
The position of it on the map and everything like that lines up perfectly with the.
Well, I mean, like,
But that could be
But I mean,
done
no,
post,
they
yeah,
they
but-
did litter. They've always littered them with Easter eggs. That doesn't necessarily mean that the
Not
decision.
every Easter egg pays off as a future
Yeah,
movie.
not every Easter egg
but,
is
but
like.
they have been playing the long game and also adapting it.
But there's
Like they
but it's
initially
definitely
had
not a
Infinity
case of
War
like.
1 and 2 where they've now kind of switched it and they moved around to make space for Homecoming. They've got the whole thing planned out. Well, Feige's got the whole thing planned out, but he's not opposed to shifting that plan.
But it was
and
definitely not
maneuvering where
planned
it
out
needs to be.
from the beginning of Phase 1. Like, it definitely wasn't that early.
I mean, Feige had the dream.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had a dream,
dream
but
had-
that was the
that
Marvel
dream
Cinematic
culminated in the Avengers.
Yeah.
It was only as they moved in on the Avengers actually being a reality that they started planning, like really planning out.
Yeah,
their-
that's fair enough.
Yeah. Because that would have been like an act of profound arrogance before even knowing.
Yeah.
If
It's
the
like, I've
experiments-
already planned out 15 years worth of films.
And then Incredible Hulk comes out, and everyone around him is like, "Yeah, okay, maybe just
Yeah.
chill, bro." No, I think that's also the smart thing though, is that they first thought in terms of like bringing characters together, like build each one's little origin, and then make the Avengers. That was milestone 1. As that became a reality and became obviously this huge phenomenon, that's when it was like, okay, cool. What is the most sensible spread of characters. And then that what I also really like is that they're very calculated in their risks. May is blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we save the big
November
ones.
November is wild card. You know, Guardians was the November slot, but then
Yeah.
Guardians 2 was May.
Yeah.
Because they
Because
knew.
that had paid off so massively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The
my
only, one, the
question
only one that
is-
actually stuck to November releases was the Thor trilogy.
Yeah.
Thor 1, Dark World, and Ragnarok were all November films.
Because none of them actually landed big enough to...
Yeah. I mean, Ragnarok now. Like,
Yeah.
if they
So
were
Thor
making
4.
a Ragnarok 2,
Yeah.
it would now be a May movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Almost
Yeah.
definitely. My question is that, like, where they're going to go after Phase 4? Because eventually these actors...
Well, Phase 3 now. Remember, because Avengers 4 is the end of Phase 3 when all of the contracts are. Phase 4
Yeah.
is where it starts off, like, new and fresh.
Yeah,
Okay,
even though there's
Phase
another
4, whatever you
all
want to
new,
call
all
it.
different.
Well,
Where's-
not
where's it
necessarily
gonna go
because
f-
there will be another Guardians. We know that
Yeah,
in Phase 4.
but the current cast that they have at the moment, they're not going to be able to keep them forever, but they're going to want to keep making movies.
Yeah.
no,
So have they built up enough goodwill to recast these roles, or are they going to move on
They're
to
not going
different
to
heroes?
recast.
no,
They're
no,
not going
Bucky-
to recast the actors. Like, Tony Stark will remain as a character, but
Yeah.
someone else, another
take the
actor,
mantle
will
of
take the
Iron Man.
mantle of Iron Man.
Yeah,
Someone else
that's
will
exactly
take the
it.
mantle of Captain
So that
America.
the big expensive guys don't have to do action anymore. They can exist within the world as sort of
And they can
potentially
show up
small,
every so often.
every now and then to excite everyone. But they're also smart. Like, I don't think they're gonna do the cheap thing and rely on legacy actors to carry it, because you know there's that tendency to like
Put
bring in the
Wolverine
new
in
stuff.
an X-Men movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, but don't worry, the cool
the
guys.
cool
still
guys,
here.
yeah.
They're good enough now. I mean, just look at Black Panther that literally just got introduced. Like, you know, there's at least 2 more Black Panther films coming in
Yeah.
Phase 4 and Phase. So
And-
they're not
and
going to
little Tom
abandon
Holland's
it.
young enough to be in quite a few of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Tom Holland's great.
I
Like,
mean, they're going to be there,
yeah.
but they've already also established that the mantle of Black Panther gets passed down.
yeah,
that's
and you know
important.
what I was thinking today. I don't know if this is sort of self-evident or not. Is Bucky taking over the mantle of Captain America? Where is he? He's in Wakanda. What do they have in Wakanda?
Vibranium.
Vibranium.
And vibranium and special super
Magic
serum,
science.
They've got
magic flower super serum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
they probably found some seeds of the heart.
Oh, yeah, no,
no.
They'll
It won't be the end of the
would
hot shit.
provide.
They'll Deus
Yeah.
Ex right that back in.
It's
Fast would make
it's
it reappear.
gonna happen. They're like, that's my little pet theory is that's how, like, Bucky is gonna be sort of superheroic in Infinity War, in Wakanda, all of that. Eventually Cap's gonna either die off or be retired.
You think they're going to go
and
with
I thought they were gonna
Bucky
go
Cap
Falcon.
rather than Falcon Cap?
Yeah, I thought
Yes,
they were going to go
definitely.
Falcon.
I
Really?
think so.
I
That's
definitely
my,
think so.
because Bucky's arc is a redemption arc.
Yeah.
And this is the
Yeah,
this would be
you-
the
no,
culmination of
Yeah.
a redemption arc.
Yeah. It would be
No, you're
like
right.
he
Falcon
would,
is just like cool sidekick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like Falcon isn't a big league enough character, but like
Well, Iron Man wasn't before the
yeah,
first
no,
movie.
Yeah, but I
I'm
mean,
talking about
even now, like,
MCU
in the
specific.
MCU, yeah.
It would be. I mean, it would be cool, but he's never really struck me as like it's a little late in the game
Yeah,
for him
he's-
to suddenly
He's
become
too
a leader
deep.
now.
Yeah, he's too deep in sidekick territory
He's-
to almost have his own.
If you look at
role.
Civil War, who's he bickering with? He's bickering with War Machine,
Yeah.
the other sidekick.
Yeah.
I think Bucky, especially. I mean, they served together in the war.
It would be
Like,
poetic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
would
gonna
make
be,
sense.
Like,
would be
people are
perfect,
gonna
it would make-
cry when he picks up that shield.
Yeah,
And it's
I mean,
like
that's
this
gonna-
is my
Out of
responsibility now.
Cap's dead hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be weeping, and then Bucky's just gonna go all like full on Cap, and then he's gonna show up, and he will have like a suit that's almost closer to the Ultimates version, you know, with more of the darker colors and everything, but still like Captain. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
And that's the great thing is because they've established the world with so much integrity, they've taken so much care. Like, this is their sandbox to play in now.
Yeah.
they've built their engine, they've built their world, like they can just go
It just
crazy and do
runs.
the coolest. That's the thing is like we know Captain Marvel's getting introduced.
Yes.
We know Black
set photos are out
Yeah,
there.
Black Panther is still newish. Wasp is only getting introduced now. I mean, this is all towards the tail end of
Yeah.
the sort of the first grouping of
So
phases.
they're getting
Yeah.
ready to
The
pass
first
the
grand
relay.
and the thing is,
baton.
the Guardians of the Galaxy will still be there. Like they're still gonna have enough. They're not gonna get rid of everyone.
No, that would be
and
stupid.
depending on how long this acquisition of Fox takes, they do have their next big bad lined up in Galactus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it now is the Fox Disney deal will go through, but
Yeah.
not in time for it to affect Phase 4 at all.
Yeah, they say
Yeah.
9 months to a year from
Yeah.
now, so it's
Yeah, it's not going to affect any of the plans for Phase 4 except for maybe a strategically placed cameo or two.
Yeah.
like
And-
I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the Avengers 4, like there's a stinger with some sort of X-Men reference.
Yeah.
Or not even X-Men, because if you remember, Tony Stark was clearing out Avengers Tower in Homecoming,
Yeah.
and Avengers Tower with all its tech would make a great Baxter building.
Yeah.
Just give me Doom.
Oh, for Fantastic
Fantastic
Four.
Four.
I
I mean, they
I
would
just need
they would do
to-
something like that. They would be
Yeah,
like,
even if
Some
you
sort
just
of-
see that that the building itself has been
I mean, someone's going
rebranded.
to
Yeah.
someone's going to mention. By the way, who bought Avengers Tower? Like, then it's the post credits. By the way, who bought Avengers Tower? Start at the top, pan down, and
Baxter.
it just says Baxter, where it used to say
Or,
Stark.
or like like Avengers Tower gets destroyed in Infinity War Part 2, and then like it's like a ruin, like it's sort of post credit scene is like they're clearing away the rubble and everything, and then there's just this family standing there like, we just bought this place.
Like, that would be brilliant.
That would be great.
Yeah,
that'd
just
be
these 4 people.
Yeah.
Random
That'd be good. Like
Joes.
pre. Although I did like Movie Bob's pitch of how to
Yeah.
bring in the Fantastic
The
Four.
60s.
With the 60s and the
But
whole
they-
time travel
it's
thing.
been-
And then
like
the family out of time.
and
Yeah.
the ability to do the different aesthetics
Yeah.
and everything. Like I really like when they do the different periods. Like obviously Captain Marvel's going to be 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, her hair looks 90s AF.
And what's the one that's going to be set in the 80s or something?
I think you're conflating Marvel with Transformers because Bumblebees take.
No, that
is
no,
in-
No,
I
that
didn't
wouldn't
know
happen.
about that. No, that wouldn't happen.
There is
Really? What's in the 80s?
there isn't a mainline MCU
okay, no,
film.
then I might be thinking about.
You're
something.
thinking of Wonder Woman Cold
Yes,
War.
there we go.
Ah.
That's a fine one to be conflated with.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we've got the 90s coming. I mean, Agent Carter the series, like as a period piece as
Ooh,
well,
yeah.
like that worked
Oh.
incredibly well.
Like
I'm-
Joe
I'm
Johnston's like original Captain America to me still holds up as a fantastic period like
Yeah.
action serial.
I'm still so upset about what happened with Agent Carter, where
What did happen?
well, she got headhunted by another show.
Okay.
So
No. The show was cancelled.
Yeah, it was cancelled first, then she found one.
Yeah, no. They were always in trouble. Like,
Oh really? So
no,
it wasn't
it-
she left?
but
and
it-
got
no,
cancelled?
No,
The ratings- the
not
ratings
at all.
were
Like
bad.
she's,
Oh, really?
she's
Okay.
very like she's still very. She and what's his name? The guy who played
Jarvis.
That's Paul Bettany, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Paul
that's not
Bettany played.
Ach, yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm
Jarvis
thinking about
in
he did the
Vision.
voice. He did the
Yeah.
voice of Jarvis. Who plays Jarvis in the series? Anyway, the two of them
Can't
are actually
remember
like
his name.
really good friends in real life. Like they do regular reunions, like Agent Carter themed stuff. Like
Yeah.
she was sort of very like
And it's a good
devoted.
show.
Yeah,
It was a good
It was a
show.
really good show. This first season was
two
better
wasn't
than the
as strong
second.
as the first.
Season
but-
2, you could taste the budget cuts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Because
really
because the
shitty.
ratings were low.
The thing
Like
is that
from the get-go.
the
that's
problem as well
unfortunate.
is that they made it a it's a mid-season small run for Agents of Shield.
Yeah.
So like it was
So
Agents
it's like
of
a B
Shield
team for the
season.
B team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was like Agents of Shield
Oh.
part 1 of the season, and then Agent Carter for a few weeks, and then Agents of Shield part 2.
Oh,
So that's like
weird.
that's
that's
taking
weird.
an already limited viewership and making it even like way more
That
limited.
basically
And they put
fireflied
it,
it.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
and they put it
Dickheads.
and they put it in the middle of the worst season of Agents of Shield.
Yeah, and Martina is still saying the thing is what also is infuriating is like they were actually great characters. Peggy's outstanding.
Yeah,
They had Howard
Howard's
who was
is great.
fantastic. Her interplay with Jarvis was brilliant.
On-
There was
yeah,
so
perfect.
much good stuff. Dottie, excellent. They had so many cool mysteries that they had established. You could really feel the, like, as I say, the budget cuts in aspects of season 2. Like, where you could see, like, this should be, like, a nice set, and it feels like a little
Yeah.
cheap. And it feels... season 1 was definitely better, but the characters were so great. And there's so many mysteries they've left unsolved. And it had the potential to be what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, basically, in terms of, like, a long-running thing.
Yeah.
Because they were building up to the formation of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty
her,
much.
like, that's literally what they were setting up, was,
Okay.
like, the whole story of her setting up S.H.I.E.L.D. with Howard Stark. All of that was, like, they were laying the groundwork for that, and then it basically was just self-sabotage.
fizzled out,
But that's just network TV. I was so hoping Netflix picked it up.
Yeah, unfortunately they didn't. But I will say this: the Netflix shows, even though they're in their own pocket of the MCU,
They're still
This-
included in the greater.
they're still like included in the greater like discussion. Not so much in the world. I mean, for me, like by the time Punisher rolled around, it's almost like the two are in separate worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was that whole thing in Jessica Jones with that couple blaming
Yeah, I'm
her
talk-
for their loss and
Yeah, no, I'm talking about by the time, because they gradually moved away.
yeah.
They
I think,
gradually sort of,
early on they did try a
Yeah,
lot.
they kept
Yeah,
on
and
mentioning
A-
the incident.
Yeah, Daredevil
Yeah,
one, there was
yeah.
a lot of like, the incident.
And Agents of I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is obviously separate, but like they also played heavily, and then they did that thing that I was talking about, that mistake of trying to bring in a heavy hitter from elsewhere
yeah.
to like where they brought in, but then they bring in someone like Lady Sif, like
Really?
yeah, she was
That
in-
was
and
their
then
choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they brought, in
in
Jamie Alexander for a couple of eps.
Yeah, and Kobe Smolder's character.
like it,
Yeah, like once.
but like it never
Yeah.
really, like it felt so weird and forced.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the Marvel Netflix shows, obviously aside from Iron Fist, which never happened, and Defenders, which definitely
It was
never
a
happened.
misstep. It was a
Yeah.
misstep.
I'm the thing is, I can understand, and
And
this
then the
is
second half of Daredevil season.
this is the dangerous thing.
No,
though,
no,
with-
not the whole second half. Just
every
part-
scene with Foggy in it.
no,
No, just every scene with the
Daredevil in it.
Just every
with
scene
the
with
woman
Dare-
in it.
every scene with
Elektra.
Daredevil, Foggy, Elektra, or the Hand. Yeah.
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 So
So-
basically, the best parts of Daredevil season 2 were the Punisher bits. Let's
Yeah,
be
basically
real.
like
Yes.
Daredevil season 2, like everything aside from Punisher was pretty bad.
Also, Punisher season 2 is happening.
Yeah, well, duh.
Well, duh, but yeah,
Yeah, but that's great to have
Yeah, hype.
confirmation.
hype.
the-
And we already have an idea of what storyline they're going to adapt, which is going super even darker than this one.
That's also the danger of the whole planning ahead thing, is that they bet so heavily on those aspects. They thought Daredevil season 2, the
That was
core
gonna be their
aspects,
money.
and Iron Fist, those were gonna be.
Hey man, that shit's gonna happen when you don't have Feige oversight.
But that's what I'm gonna say, is that's also why I give Feige so much credit. It's obviously dangerous to give like one man excessive credit, but just that amount of control that he exercises and amount of quality control. Because just imagine like, he'd been in charge of it. Like surely there would be red flags.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
everywhere.
I
everywhere.
thought you were gonna take a dig at WB there. Like, just imagine you put Zack Snyder.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you,
Wah!
that's one aspect where Perlmutter still has influence, isn't it, in the TV world?
Yes, no, he does have influence on the TV side.
He
I-
was
I'm-
he was the one that pushed for Inhumans.
Yes.
Inhumans
what
was
a
his
monster.
That
was
his
his
base.
What?
That
a
was no,
monster.
Oh, right,
that was
that one
his. He
also
was the
happened.
one who he wanted the full made for years, and Feige kept saying no, 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 no,
It's
no.
not right. It's
And
not
now
going
he
to work.
and his whole thing with the Inhumans TV series was he's gonna show everyone now.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
quietly cancelled
And
that.
like he's gonna show everyone, and they're gonna make it in
You know,
IMAX,
it's still
and
not
it's gonna
officially
be
cancelled.
oh no.
Officially.
yeah, they're gonna make it in
is.
IMAX, and it's gonna show all of them that he was right, and it was just a disaster. So, and obviously, yeah, they bet heavily on Iron Fist. They bet heavily on Daredevil season 2 stuff, and those were the weakest things.
You know,
and then
they bet on all the mystical shit when they shouldn't have.
yeah. And I mean, obviously, just the story of Defenders. I was trying to recount it to a friend a while
I
ago,
can't.
and it's the most batshit stupid garbage story. How when you've got like
They
when
fight.
you've-
Wait, they fight an undead ninja on the corpse of a dragon
No.
underneath New
Let's
York
put it this
City.
way. No,
Yes.
you know what gets me about that? Sorry to go off on a tangent.
No,
but
no, no.
We can do that every now and then.
Yeah.
Is the whole season they talk about New York's gonna fall. You'll get used to cities falling, right?
Yeah.
So she uses the last of her immortality juice to bring back Elektra, right? Who is evenly matched with Daredevil in a one-on-one fight. But this is her master plan to take down the Defenders.
Yeah, this is her end
to bring
game.
back one fighter who equals
The
one
blind
of
guy.
Yeah, the blind human, non-enhanced.
Yeah.
And then
And she's a mystical undead ninja.
yeah, like there are 3 people in the Defenders more powerful than him, but she's gonna bring her back.
I mean, she
to-
can't touch
to
Luke
take-
Cage.
They've got armies of people with guns, and they're like, they shoot at Luke Cage, and they're like, oh well, this isn't gonna work.
They must all be bulletproof. I guess we'll just go home.
Yeah, they talk the whole season about New York's gonna fall, and then you realize they mean literally.
Yeah.
They mean like we're
oops.
going to take out this dragon skeleton, which even though it's only about 2 or 3 blocks in size,
Nah, all
somehow
in
is
New York.
holding up the whole of New York, and then it's gonna literally be a sinkhole. That's what we mean.
We're
We say-
very literal.
yeah, we're being. That's
They're
the,
very heavy-handed.
The worst thing is like there's a wall. There's a
yeah.
wall that they have to get Iron Fist to punch through. Where apparently they own the whole city. They own like everything.
Yeah.
They're so powerful. So they literally couldn't go to the building across the street and
just
drill
drill
down
down.
past the
Nope.
wall. They have to go through it.
Gotta go.
Maybe they would have hit a magical roof.
Oh, that's
Magical chain link fence.
Magical
it's-
chicken wire.
It's it's stupid on every possible. And the thing is, I was actually for the first half of it, I was suckered in. I was like pretty hyped. I was like, I like this because it's a slow burn. I felt like they were really building and taking their time, and then you just realize like,
payoff is
they were
such
just they were
garbage.
just playing for time because
they
they had no
had nothing
fucking idea what they were
then.
gonna
And
do.
that shitty hip hop music that they used for the
In the
fight at the end
fight
that made
scene.
no thematic sense.
That was
whatsoever.
Wu-Tang. That was Wu-Tang Protect Your Neck. I don't know why
Yeah.
they played Wu-Tang at the end, where throughout the series,
There was no
there
Wu-Tang.
was no Wu-Tang.
Like, they didn't even... Did they play Wu-Tang in any Luke Cage?
Nope.
You're right, yeah. So it makes, even on that level, no sense. Like, if they played Protect Your Neck often enough in Luke Cage for it to become like the Luke Cage
Maybe if
theme,
they'd been like a first fight where they all got their asses handed to them and it played, and then at the end when they're like a cool unit, it played again, like, but still like it doesn't fit a fight scene.
No.
Actually, Protect Your Neck would make a fantastic Luke Cage theme.
Of course it would.
So yeah, it was just, and then you've got Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, which are these like incredible series, and they're sort of bit players in the defense. So yeah, I mean, there's those are missteps.
If they're going to do a second season of the Defenders, it's gonna pivot hard into like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones territory.
I think it's also what I am feeling positive about is that they're bringing that dynamic between Luke Cage and Iron Fist,
Yes.
and
Which
that actually
works.
worked. That
Like,
actually
as
worked
much
really
as
well.
Finn Jones is an irritating little shit. Seeing
But
Luke
if you-
Cage put him in his Mike Coulter put him in his
That's
place.
half the fun. That's
Yeah.
half the
Works.
fun. Is
Yeah.
just seeing this annoying little shit
Yeah.
being put in his place. So yeah, I don't know. I think the I mean the cinematic universe has also had missteps. I mean you've got the first 2
But
Thor movies.
none's quite so long.
Nothing.
No,
Not-
no,
never-
not quite so so cut and dry.
Yeah, I think that's like there's
Nothing's
never
that's
been a,
outright bad.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
never been a complete disaster.
No.
It's like Pixar, I guess. Like there's never been a complete like
Trash fire.
Cars 2, arguably. I know you said you enjoyed it.
It
Yeah.
still made a shit ton of money and still has mostly positive reviews.
yeah.
No, it does not have mostly positive reviews.
You got to remember Pixar is a critical darling, and it's reviewed by people as films for essentially for adults that children can watch as well.
Yes.
And they couldn't handle the fact that Cars 2 is a film for children.
Yeah.
And as far as films for children go, it's better than most.
It's got more going on.
Yeah.
Than most kids.
Wait a
films.
second. You said you enjoyed Cars 2.
Yes?
That's an Owen Wilson movie.
No! Well, his nose.
I knew why
his-
I hated it.
his nose
I
wasn't in
knew
it.
Okay, fine. It's not mostly positive, but the Metascore is still 57.
Yeah, that's alright.
So I mean, that's still above
But you
average.
got to remember they were rating it as a Pixar film, and obviously if you're comparing it to like Up and Ratatouille, it's a dumpster fire.
Yes.
But as a children's film, it beats the shit out of most.
Yeah.
Beats the shit out of Minions.
Well, Variety's reviewer really loved it. Gave it 9 out of 10.
That's the thing is like if you have to watch it on its own terms.
I
I honestly
really like
I
Owen Wilson.
honestly don't. I
they
honestly
are
don't
wrong.
think Cars was a dumpster fire. I mean, like Planes, which was obviously the spin-off that
Oh
Disney.
god, I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, that's a dumpster fire.
And they're good at hiding those too. Disney's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
good
that
at
disappeared.
hiding
Yeah,
fires.
they just they made a sequel though. I think
Kind of like all their animated
didn't.
I'm
sequels.
90% sure they made a sequel. Look it up.
Did they?
Well,
Jason,
a
you fought
a
for-
lot of the animated, like I'm talking hand-drawn animated sequels.
Yeah, I got
that-
really bad deep straight to DVD sequels.
Ooh, those were bad.
Yeah.
You watch Mulan too?
Yeah,
good.
apparently there's a Planes 3 even.
Oh wow.
Good lord.
Direct to DVD, no.
Because there's Planes, then there's Planes...
Planes, Trains, and
Fire and
Automobiles?
Rescue, and...
You know, actually, this actually
And-
makes their whole streaming thing make even more sense.
Yeah.
Because now they don't even have to have the embarrassment of like.
Yeah, Planes 3 is coming out this year.
They don't even have to have the embarrassment of saying something straight to DVD. They can just say exclusively for Disney streaming.
Yep.
And that
It's-
certainly sounds like a good thing.
And there we go.
There we go.
Cloverfield Paradox exclusive to Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one else wants it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good look at the MCU.
I think so.
Comprehensive.
And, I gotta say, Infinity War. All
I
aboard that hype train.
am so... I'm riding on the front of the hype train like Buster Keaton.
It's the first time in a. It's the first time in
better
a
protect
long
your neck.
time. I think since Avengers 1, that a Marvel film has made me, in terms of just hype and almost like trepidation, almost like at the
Because
stake.
it's
Yeah.
massive
It's the
stakes.
first time since the Avengers that a Marvel film's made me feel like a Star Wars film.
Yes. I understand what you mean.
Ah,
Like the way I
That
felt
does
before I
make
watched
sense.
Last Jedi is how I feel about Infinity War.
You know, you're right.
I know I'm right.
So, just out of interest, you tried to do this earlier. Just your top 3.
Top 3 is Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then it gets complicated. I'd say either original Iron Man or possibly Black Panther. I'm gonna need more time though. I'm still fresh on the hype of Black Panther. But I'd say like my safe bet would be Winter Soldier, Civil War, original Iron Man.
Right? That's not a bad top 3.
I know.
Mine's pretty similar. Marcus, do you have a solid top 3 with them, or...?
It's really hard, but mine's probably going to be completely different from
Yeah.
the rest of you. There might be one or two crossovers.
But that's what's so great about it.
See, that's the thing. You can't be like, oh, well, that's a shit one, because they're all
Yeah.
good.
I mean, these aren't... I'm going to preface this, but these are not necessarily...
By the way,
The
I'm-
best ones, but they're your favorite
Yeah,
ones.
they're my
Oh,
favorite
that-
ones.
Okay, cool. Because if we're talking about favorites, then I would replace Iron Man with Thor Ragnarok.
Why do you keep stealing my top 3?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. I thought we were talking about like what we feel are sort of like the
strongest
best, like
ones.
the
No,
strongest.
No,
No,
my
your
favorite...
Oh,
favorites.
favorites.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
yeah, no.
No, my favorites are easy because they're the ones I've rewatched the most and plan to rewatch ad infinitum. The first Avengers movie.
Okay.
For obvious reasons. That scene where they're all standing there and
You
the
just
theme
have to say that.
kicks in.
That's the exact argument I made
Yeah.
to both of them earlier today.
Yep.
And you've got that. Then you watch Thor Ragnarok because you know what? It's just such a damn good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna go with, because I like a good gritty movie, and one of my favorites is actually Winter Soldier as well.
So
'Cause,
yours
like,
is
I have-
identical to mine except for one.
Yeah, exactly. I watch Winter Soldier. I watched it the same time that I originally watched The Raid and The Raid 2.
Oh,
So-
nice.
So I liken them to each other in my mind. So I'm
Because
like,
that elevator fight.
yeah, because of elevator fighting. Like, obviously, Winter Soldier has a lot less blood, but it's still just
No,
as
it's got
visceral.
just as much. It just stays in people's bodies.
Let's say I've got internal bleeding, but that's fine.
That's where the blood's
Blood's
supposed
meant
to
to
be.
be.
All right, yours, Thomas.
You stole mine.
Oh, is it?
It's exactly the same.
All
My
right.
top 3 is exactly the same as yours. Your original. It's
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, it's Civil War, it's original Iron Man.
All right. So you would, if I put original Iron Man and Thor Ragnarok next to each other, you would grab original Iron Man.
I would.
Nice.
I actually would.
Yeah, for me it's very close, but I think Thor Ragnarok is just the movie that even now, when I've totally overwatched it, I'm desperate to watch it again.
Because it's just so much fun.
Yeah,
It's
and
just...
Yeah.
And
and it just each new scene you're like, oh, this is that one.
It's so lighthearted,
Yeah,
it's so enjoyable.
there's some films like Talladega Nights, like the extended cut of Talladega Nights, that I could just watch literally 100 times, and
Or
it's
the
just
first Anchorman.
yeah, and just like I can watch it endlessly and just not get tired of it. And Ragnarok is one
It's
of
that
those.
movie.
It's like me and Blade Runner. Like, I've watched it,
Yeah.
or the way I watch,
uncountable times.
like how I literally watch Die Hard every Christmas day. Like, that's a tradition
I
I've
did that with
held up.
Gremlins.
No, I do that with my wife. We watch Die Hard Christmas Day every year. If we miss it by a day, that's fine, but we watch it on Christmas because, yeah.
This is the greatest Christmas.
Jason.
Mine would probably be Winter Soldier.
Oh, god damn it!
It's the best.
So yeah, there we go.
And then Civil War,
Oh, god damn it!
and then the first Avengers movie.
So
Just
mine,
because of that exact scene that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. Just the culmination of everything before that. Just
Yeah.
for that moment there where they're all together and the theme swells.
It's a massive,
it's
massive
that,
payoff.
And you want to know my secret? I'm always angry.
Well, that is
That
part of
That's
that.
part of
Yeah.
that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so damn good. Just that one little scene. It's just
Just that shot for me is just
Yeah.
like, that.
No, I mean that's peak. I've got
Yeah.
I don't know,
Hey,
every Avengers, like, well, both Avengers films so far has had
That hero shot.
that kind of thing. So like, I'm just trying to imagine Infinity Wars one.
Like, I'm just
And I remember
imagine.
this
I'm
is
just
Russo
It's gonna be a big
Brothers.
pan. It's
Like-
gonna be a big pan.
Yeah, I just
it's gonna take
imagine.
20 minutes of the movie to just pan through all like 60 characters.
What I imagine is all the like IMAX cinemas that know what's up are gonna wrap all their chairs in plastic because they know.
Because they know
They know
there's gonna be some
get
issues.
it's gonna get like real dirty in there. Heads exploding, people ejaculating.
Yeah, but I gotta say, even though I saw it, I think, around 7 times when it was in theaters, if somebody was like, hey, you wanna watch Thor Ragnarok? I'd be like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll go
yeah.
watch it with you tomorrow. Like,
yeah. The all right, now quickly because we're running
Yeah.
out of time. I'm very curious to know, what are your bottom 3?
Bottom 3, in terms of the ones that I've watched the least.
Well, just in terms of like what you would least recommend to people. Like, what's the worst?
Age of Ultron is right near the bottom for me. I guess Iron Man 3 is there near the bottom as well.
Which is a pity. It's just that third act.
Yeah, it's the
It's-
third act that let it down. It's I was gonna call it the Wonder Woman problem, even though this happened before Wonder Woman. And then I think Dark World.
Okay.
Those would probably be the ones I'd least recommend.
yeah, that's pretty. For me, I would put Dark World, I think, at the very bottom. I would argue that that's the weakest. Then I would say Ultron, and like I know you guys will love it, but I would say Ant-Man.
Oh, I wouldn't say I love it, but
don't know.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's just good.
Ant-Man I've probably only watched 2 or
I think
maybe
I-
3
I watched
times.
it a couple of times.
I
and,
think
like,
I've only
it's
watched-
good, but it's never actively bad. Well, for me.
Okay, yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make here. misspoke.
But I
It's not
suppose,
even
but,
bad.
none of these
something
are actually
being
bad,
but something
though.
being
Yeah.
bland
Yeah,
for you is as bad as it being
yeah,
bad.
within the context of the sphere
Yeah.
that we're looking at, I think it's a poor starting off point.
Well, it was the one that had the most production troubles as well.
I've generally felt that there are different, like for instance, I know Jason's gonna kill me, but like I'm not particularly a fan of the first Captain America. Like it to me, it feels like a bit like it's better than Ant-Man, but it feels a bit like that, where it feels very
I get that.
bland and like just the Agent Smith. You know,
No, I'm with you
Yeah.
because I think
which is why I think so. Which is another reason that Winter Soldier is so amazing, because you got that opening scene where he's on the boat and he just fucking kicks.
that guy the first time. You just hit the
I'll never
boom as
forget
he-
like that moment with that kick. I was like, oh my
This is a
god,
different movie.
this. Oh shit, Marcus.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit different from you guys. The
Have to
Incredible
be-
Hulk.
Oh, I even forgot about that
Okay,
one's
in fairness,
existence.
I don't even really count that.
I had to put off
I forgot about that one's existence, so I guess that kind of supersedes any of the ones that I put up.
yeah, I adjust mine as
Alright.
well.
And then, despite that one scene, that one scene, Iron Man 2, like, despite that one scene,
The
like, put it on
suitcase.
YouTube, I'll watch it ad infinitum.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie, it feels like they did fast track that one a bit.
Yeah.
I'll
Too
agree.
much.
I'll agree with you.
And then my cop out, because I don't want to slag off any of the others, Inhumans can die in a garbage fire, because it is technically part of the MCU.
It's not part of
It's
the,
all
the
the
movies.
Fine, if we're going on the movies, I guess. Wait, my wife doesn't listen to these. Thor: The Dark World.
I honestly think, for me personally, I would put Thor 1 below Thor: The Dark World. If only because Thor 1 is more frustrating to watch.
You're totally right.
Because Thor
totally
has
right.
moments of greatness. The Asgard scenes, it actually has great stuff. And then it has just, it's that,
And then it has Kat Dennings.
You know the 4-quadrant thing? Like
Yeah.
where they have to appeal to each quadrant. And it just feels like they so clumsily try to shoehorn in the romance. They try, like any scene with Natalie Portman makes me want to kill myself. And I think with something like Thor: Dark World, even though it's a weak, very weak film, it never has that same sense of like, ooh, there's hope, ha, slap you down. Ooh, there's
Yeah.
like Thor: The
Yeah.
Dark World is just kind of, it's sort of entertaining
It's
and
sort
it's
of- it's
forgettable.
Mad the whole way.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, they did retcon one thing of that. One thing, like within Thor itself, or Thor 2 to 3, that Cronin, that Thor Rex in the beginning of the Dark World, that was supposed to be Korg, but they retconned it because Waititi
Ah.
was like, I want to make Korg funny.
Nice.
Thank
Yeah.
God
So
for
they
that.
killed in Reborn. He was killed in Reborn.
So I think
Better
my
and funny.
So
my
Korg is Jesus.
bottom, like my
Rock
bottom is
Jesus.
probably Thor, because it's the only MCU film that I'll rage quit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then your other two.
That's where it gets difficult. Wait, what was your list again?
Incredible Hulk.
No, the thing is, I wouldn't actually put Incredible Hulk that low. As I say, rewatching it, it doesn't feel like part of the rest of the MCU, which obviously is against it. But it's not that bad. Like it would be like fourth worst.
Like
Okay,
the
so
reason I
you gotta
put it
fill
on
out
my
those
list
other
is
two.
because it's that forgettable and not so much a part. Because I don't want to slag off any of these movies.
Yeah,
like
I'm-
It
I'm
does
gonna-
feel separate with.
I'm gonna
Actually,
agree with
yeah,
Marcus
it
and say
does.
Iron Man 2, definitely. It's one of those things where like I enjoyed it a lot when I watched it, but I think a lot of that was just the suitcase.
Oh, that
scene.
suitcase scene is so cool.
And it's got great stuff. It's got Hammer, and it's got that same problem where it's got what's his name, Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke kind of mumbling his way
Yeah,
through his
and it's just,
lines.
and you could see, like they said, Mickey Rourke at that point, the studio wasn't quite the powerhouse. They didn't, even, and like he had a lot of freedom. Like, and they interviewed him afterwards, and he says he knows nothing about his character.
Like, wow,
He doesn't know who his
great,
character
awesome.
is. He wanted his character to have this. He wanted his character to have the bird, and like, it feels messy and it's just kind of dull.
Directionless.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd say third last, probably Dark World, I guess. Like, but I would definitely put Thor at the bottom for the crime of just pissing me off, and Iron Man 2 for just being bland and feeling tired. Yeah, and then Dark World because it's just not a good movie. Yeah.
Right. And on that downer that you forced us to end on,
Hey! Hey, it's not a downer because Infinity War is coming out in 2 months.
all right. So our movie recommendations for this week are all going to be the same recommendation. Watch the MCU movies. Watch
go
all
watch
of
them
them
all. All of
now
them.
in the time that you have before
In
Infinity
fact,
War.
I think
Hold each other close and
I
then
can actually do that because I think both the first 2 phases in their entirety are on Netflix.
Yeah. So
my
essentially, what you
Blu-ray
want to
shelf.
do in the
Yes.
in the time that you have now is quickly watch all of them on DVD or streaming, and then go into the cinema and watch Black Panther before it goes off circuit,
Yep, absolutely.
and then you'll be fully prepared for Infinity War.
No, you won't.
You still won't.
none of us are.
No.
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 All right. Plugs. I'm assuming it's the usual from everyone.
Yes.
Marks,
Yes.
anything in
YouTube
particular?
Gaming Watch.
Cool. CineBeards, we're on all the things where you find the things,
Including the internet.
including the internet.
Let's go have some crabbies.
Yes.
Crabbies.